What's up guys? So the first official teaser trailer for Eternals came out this past Monday and the reactions have been kind of a mixed bag. Some people hate it and are still uninterested in the franchise, and others are hyped beyond belief, and that's personally the category that I fall into. I've been hyped since this movie was announced because of how obscure and weird these characters are in Marvel Comics, but how important they are to the Marvel Universe because they literally help shape mankind. And to see just how this is gonna work after they weren't much help in Infinity War or Endgame, even though their cousin was fucking everybody's days up, I'm very curious just what the hell they've been up to that they didn't help. And it better be a very good explanation. It better not be some stupid shit. And this movie does officially take place after Avengers Endgame, as they address in the trailer when Sprite says, who do you think is gonna lead the Avengers now after Iron Man and Cap are gone? So they have to explain this very, very well. But for the purpose of time, guys, I'll give you as much Eternals knowledge as I can, but I'll only keep it to things that are kind of pertinent to the trailer. If you guys are trying to learn more about the Eternals, I would suggest, other than reading, which would be the first suggestion, I did make a video a while back on the channel about who the Eternals are, and I go a little bit more in depth on them that I'm going to probably in this video. So if you want to learn more, get your Eternals knowledge up, then I would suggest checking that video out. Maybe even possibly leaving a like and a comment, possibly, to help your boy out. But for now, I'm just gonna give you my thoughts and speculations on the teaser. Again, it's just a teaser, so we're not getting really any big story points and really not gonna get any like kind of characterization, like anything about the characters, which I think is kind of a bad move given how obscure these characters are, like insanely obscure. I would imagine they'd want to start getting people familiar with them as soon as possible, but hey, we'll probably get a lot more as we get closer to the movie, more promos and everything, so I think it'll be for the most part fine, right? And maybe it might help to not know too much about them, at least the general audiences, for them to not know too much about them, because this movie is gonna absolutely slap, guys. This trailer was awesome, so let's get right into it. So first off, guys, do not sleep on this movie. I repeat, do not sleep on this movie. This movie is gonna absolutely go off for so many reasons, but reason number one, if you couldn't tell, this is being shot unlike any other Marvel movie. So many of the frames in this trailer are just like pure art. They really let Chloe Zhao, the director of this movie, like absolutely go off. She has a great history of like just beautiful movies, so I'm really excited to see what she's been able to do, especially since Marvel said like go off, like you do whatever you want. I believe this movie was shot on actual film, which is nice to see. There's lots of practical sets being used and so many vibrant colors that we're not so used to, so it's just really awesome. We see the Eternals pull up in that flying vessel, which I believe is from the OG 60s comics, but I think it was reserved for Celestials, the giant alien robot gods who created the Eternals and the Deviants and the humans. And it seems like the little village that they pull up on could potentially be related to MCU Atlantis. Now, I know what you guys are saying. What the fuck does that have to do with Atlantis? Just because it's near water doesn't mean shit. You're an idiot. Please jump into traffic. But the reason why I'm saying that is because this young actor right here, he was hanging out very closely with the main cast, and I believe he was in some interview. He basically said that his character, his father, was eaten by sea monsters, and that character would be later reprised by an older actor in, I guess a future movie, or maybe in the same movie, I don't even know. Basically, the rumor is that he's going to be playing young Namor, so I think that would be hella tight. I think Namor is coming for sure. Whether or not this kid is Namor though, we'll have to wait and see, obviously. And if you didn't know, the Deviants, the evil, flawed race that the Eternals created, their home base is a place called Lemuria, and it's basically this underwater place where all of them kind of like reside and plot and do everything. And it was actually sunk by the then king of Atlantis. It was sunk by using magma pits, and in the trailer we see a volcano explosion, and in that volcano explosion we also see like a weird spark, which I'll get into a little bit later. But basically we're seeing these magma pits, we're seeing people around them, so I'm thinking this might be the cause for Lemuria and for Atlantis to be sunk, thinking that's what they're gonna show us. This whole movie is gonna span thousands of years. It's not just gonna be in this time, so I'm very curious if we're gonna get to see that. Maybe this place right here is Lemuria, or maybe it's Atlantis while it was still on Earth. You never know. I think that'd be really cool. I hope they show us that, because I don't know if you can give us Lemuria, the place where the Deviants reside, and which is kind of like a rival to Atlantis, without giving us Atlantis and Namor at least planting the seeds, okay? And also the Celestials, when they came back to Earth, they also helped sink that as well, and that was kind of called the Great Cat Cataclysm. So just for your information, guys, that's what I'm going off of. Again, take this rumor with a huge grain of salt. We don't know what the hell is going to be happening, but I'm hoping it's weird. I'm hoping it's crazy, and I hope we get Namor in MCU Atlantis. But it could be anything. I don't think Namor is that long-lived, so I don't know even what time period this is where they're visiting them. It looks like early Mankind, but who knows what the MCU will take liberties with and tweak. I like how the whole trailer is basically telling you what the Eternals are about. Like, they've helped mold and guide mankind, and we know that they've stopped and they're barely starting to help again. So I'm very curious, because it has to be a very good reason. Your cousin's been fucking shit up all the universe basically, so you're gonna need to provide some receipts for, you know, why you were so busy to not help. As for who the villain will be in this movie, you really couldn't tell by the trailer, but how most Marvel secrets get out, a toy leak will show us that Crow is going to be in the movie. And now right off the bat, I do not like the way that this Crow design is. MCU Crow, I think it looks like shit. It looks like complete ass. It's not good, okay? And I believe because Crow in the comics looks like a devil figure, and there's a certain country out there who, if anybody's watching from that country, appreciate y'all, but there's people, you know, powers that be, that don't like devil figures, which I think is very dumb, but it is what it is. I want to see MCU Mephisto. I want to see devil characters because they look badass. It's a great design. This looks a little bit like Absorbing Man from like Hulk 2003. It looks like shit, and it seems Crow might be fighting here, or it could just be another one of the deviants, but Crow is basically kind of like the leader of the deviants. He's also a shapeshifter, so maybe this could be a different version of Crow, one of his, you know, base transformations. I have no idea, but I'm hoping this isn't the final design. I don't know if I'll be that lucky. And that's the thing, the only other villains that they would have besides the deviants and Crow would be Druig, but it seems like he's not evil yet, or at least he's not the antagonist for this movie yet. The only other villain or antagonist would be the Horde, which is a kind of like insect-like race that basically comes to a planet and destroys it if it's deemed deviant energy dominant. I believe I go deeper into the Horde in my old Eternals video, so if you guys want, check that out. But that's basically the gist of it. Otherwise, the other thing I found curious was the lack of Zurus, okay? Zurus is like the main Eternal, the prime Eternal, and he's nowhere to be found. Like, I would imagine if Crow got leaked and all the other Eternals, like Marvel Legends figures, got leaked, and we would get Zurus at this point. Maybe he's coming down the line, maybe he's an extra special character, but he's kind of very important, you know? He's the father of Athena. He's also the brother of Alars, the father of Thanos, so he's like Thanos' uncle. So that's where the family tree branches off from. And I have to address this because it's kind of gotten annoying on Twitter, but people are seriously asking how Athena and Thanos can be related because of how different they look. And it's like, it's very simple, okay? Thanos is a hybrid, so basically he was born of Eternals, but he had a deviant gene, so he's both, and that kind of actually makes him extra powerful. That's basically what it is. There's nothing too special about it. This is fucking comics, this is fantasy. Just shut the fuck up. It is what it is. I'm very curious also if there's going to be other Eternals, because again, I don't know what they're gonna tweak, but when the Celestials came to Earth and they worked on early proto-human, I believe they made like 100 Eternals. Like, there was more than just the Eternals that we see in the trailer, okay? There's even Eternals like on Titan. That's where, you know, Thanos comes from and everything. But basically, I don't know if they're gonna tweak that and just have a certain amount of Eternals, these 7. I'm very curious to see how that goes. But again, I'm hoping we get to see Zurus because he is a very important character. So even though we don't get a lot of great exposition on who these characters are in this teaser trailer, because it is in fact a teaser, we get a lot of really great shots from these characters. Like, I love when Makari's in the ship and it looks like she's surrounded by a bunch of treasures that she's taken from certain places, and she's using her speed to read like all the books, which is something that I would totally do and get like smart as shit, or, you know, more realistically, just catch up on all the comics that I'm so behind on right now. I don't know what's been going on with me. I've been lacking on the comic reading department, but I've gotten started on it, so I'm going to finish everything, I promise. Angelina Jolie as Athena looks incredible. I love the armor. Everything looks so great, especially when she's on the ship around those teal drapes. You guys know, or you should know if you follow me on social media, which you should, that I love teal and I love mint. It's just the way it is. Pastels, fuck yeah, dog. We get to see Kinjo in that little dance number, which looked absolutely beautiful. Like, that looks like cinematography. Like, you can put that shot in a Wes Anderson film, or tell me it was filmed by Wes Anderson, and I'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. That'll fit in that movie. So it just looks great. I love how Salma Hayek is Ajak. Ajak had a lot of influence in Incan culture, and you know, Salma Hayek, she's Mexican and I think Lebanese, but you know, I'm claiming the Mexican part right now. But basically, you know, I really like that, and I like seeing a Mexican superhero, especially especially a female Mexican superhero. So we don't just have Joaquin Torres, we have Salma Hayek or Ajax. So I think that's really cool. Besides all that, should be cool anyway, because Ajax is like a badass character. He's like the leader of the Eternals, I guess, right now. In the movie, she's supposed to be the matriarch of the Eternals. The character Ajax, at least in the comics, was the one that could actually talk to the Celestials. So Ajax is very important, and I really like the design. I mean, Salma Hayek, she looks great in anything. Even at her age, like, she's flames, bruh. You can't tell me this woman is not flames. But I love it. I love how they're doing the helmet too. I thought the helmet would look a little bit weird. I mean, the MCU doesn't really go too much for helmets. Like, I love Thor's helmet personally, especially in the first Thor movie, but they don't even use it. And I would like to see Thor in more helmets. But yeah, like, I'm glad that they actually went with a helmet for this character because I think she looks great. As well, we get our first look at Kit Harington as Dane Whitman, or Black Knight, in this movie. Black Knight and Cersei, they have like a connection in the comics. There's this thing that they do that grants his character the same powers as an Eternal. I can't recall the name right now. Maybe I'll put it up. It's called something weird that I forgot. I need to do more digging into the Black Knight, like into his lore, because I know very peripherally who he is and what he's about. But basically, just think about, you know, medieval times, kind of like a King Arthur, Camelot-esque character. He also has this Pegasus basically called Aragorn, which, please, let's get weird. Let's have Aragorn in the movie. Let's do it, okay? I'm down to see a Pegasus. Okay, we saw a Pegasus in Endgame. Let's have more Pegasus or Pegasi in these movies. I fuck with it. And seriously, once we get the costume reveal, like, cause that costume, I'm telling you guys, is gonna go so damn hard. I was worried about how they were gonna pull off the costumes for the Eternals, and you know, they're all right, they're good. I really would have liked Makkari to have like a helmet too, but it is what it is. But everybody looks for the most part pretty well, and I can dig what they're going for. Another little thing that I noticed was this shot of them when they're all floating, and this could potentially be them forming the Uni-Mind. And the Uni-Mind is this big psionic brain looking thing. It's basically like a brain energy based Megazord that, you know, the Eternals, they'll link up and they'll become more powerful together. And it's this crazy beyond powerful like thing that the Celestials gifted the Eternals with. So it's like a brain Megazord, if you will. I do think it will be in the movie. I think it's too weird and too cool and too important to, like, I guess the Eternals like mythos to not have in the movie. But honestly, I don't know what the fuck Crow is gonna do to elicit that. I don't think he's that much of a threat where they would need to, but you never know what the fuck he could be doing. We also get to see this shot of Sprite singing on this private jet, it seems, that belongs to Kinjo. If you didn't know, Kinjo in this movie, in, you know, the Marvel universe, is gonna be like this big famous Bollywood actor, so he's got all the monies. It looks like he's a fan of Captain America, as we see that original shield in the back behind the bar. But guys, this whole shot, it's kind of got me thinking, you know, Marvel is always deceitful. They're always playing games, and I get that and I understand that. And so that's why this whole sequence, especially the bar, has got me thinking about the vestibule. You guys are probably saying, is this guy still speaking fucking English? Yes, I am. The vestibule is basically this place, this in-between place, and it's, you know, represented as a bar. It's basically this place that the Eternals go to when they're basically dead and waiting to be rebirthed, because the Eternals are super durable. They're basically immortal, but they can still, you know, perish. So basically what happens is when they perish, they get reborn in these birthing pods at like their base location, which is either, I think, Valeria or Olympus. I'm not too sure, kind of forgot. You know, they're virtually immortal, highly durable, but they get reborn into new bodies with their same consciousness. That's kind of how they stay immortal. If, you know, damage is ever too great. In that in-between, they stay at this bar run by the Fulcrum, which it's too complicated kind of to get into right now, but he's a very powerful entity. Some would say second to one, which is the one above all. We're not going to get into it. It's too complicated. Or it's a place before they go to their version of the afterlife, which is called Lacuna. Very, very weird, very complicated, and very exciting. And this concept of the vestibule was actually introduced in one of the most recent runs of Eternals, right before the run that came out this year. I believe it was about 08 or 09 when this run came out. It's a great run. I would definitely recommend checking it out. You'll get to know more about that and the Horde if you do read this. But yeah, that's what I'm thinking, guys. It looks innocent enough, right? But what if these Eternals are dead right now? What if they just got their asses whooped? Maybe they get snapped and they go this way and they just get reborn from the snap. I would love to see that. I would love to see some of the Eternals get snapped and just reborn, if that's even possible. I think that would be so fucking badass. We'll see. We'll see what happens. It could just be as innocent as that, and I might be fucking, my shoulders might be flying out of my sockets because of all the reaching I'm doing, but still, guys, a guy can dream. All I know is, guys, this movie is going to be an absolute banger. Please do not sleep on this movie. Shit is gonna go off, especially as we get closer to the movie and we get more trailers, promos, info, and all sorts of details. If you want to go in blind, that's fine, but I like knowing some of the stuff that will be going on so I can pick up on all the little things so I can share share with you guys. But that's just me. And I'd also like to encourage you guys to actually read the Eternals, okay? Because there's some really great runs, and the thing about it is it's probably the least intimidating property to get into with Marvel. Like, I think there's literally like less than 100 issues of Eternals out there. Like, there's not a lot of stuff out there, so there's not so much to catch up on. It's not overwhelming. Like, there's literally, I think, 4 volumes. There's a 5th one, I think, going on right now. I mean, I'm picking it up, but I think it's the 5th because there's one from the 60s, the 80s, and 2 from the 2000s. I personally recommend Neil Gaiman's run. It's super epic. It's drawn by John Romita Jr., and it's awesome, and that's pretty good basis, and it's just a great story. Obviously, you can't go wrong with the 60s version. Honestly, I don't like the 80s version, but you know, you can check that out too. The recent run that's going on right now is actually pretty dope, so I'd recommend that as well. It's fairly easy to catch up on, guys. You can pick up on a lot of things, and you could, you know, find new awesome characters to read or just to look forward to and get more hype for Eternals. It's all good, trust me. Anyways, guys, let me know what you thought of the teaser, whether you're hyped or not. Let me know your speculations and what you thought of the video. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on all this. If you liked the video, leave me a thumbs up, comment down below, and if you want, subscribe. I always appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.